Hello, everybody. Good evening. It's Friday. Not only is it Friday, this is actually a key point here. It is Friday the 13th. And not only is it Friday the 13th, but it just happens to be Boy in a Band's 13th 7-day song. I don't know. I'm not feeling good about that. We're half of a month into Music Making Month, and we haven't dropped a Skype call, a WebEx screen share, an iChat, a nothing. Even my Ustream signal has been really solid, and I gotta say I'm feeling on edge. So I've prepared something just as a safety check here. Hang on a second. Okay. We're going for the tinfoil hat. This is just a last minute, just if nothing else fails, this baby will keep us going here. So, listen, for anyone that's joining us new, I just want to welcome you first of all. We've got much to come for the month, so please come back. Let's make this not your last Music Making Month event, but your first. And just a few points of order to figure out here. Basically, it's this. If you've got a question for Dave, or I, but really for Dave, just put the word question in the chat room in front of it so that I can see it. It'll kind of help my eyes hone in on the question. And also, if you heard in the beginning of this broadcast, I had a song playing. And that's a song that was tweeted to us with the hashtag MMMPropSongs. And that's a hashtag we're using all month long. Send us your songs. It's Music Making Month, so we kind of wanted to celebrate the music that you're making. Because that's really what all this is about anyway, is about all of us making music. So what better way to get that out there than to get it out there? So tweet it to me. MMMPropSongs is the hashtag, or post it on our Facebook wall. And I go through them every day, and we're getting more and more of them. And I even think they're getting better and better, or I'm getting more and more into these songs. There's such a variety of music you guys do, which is awesome. I'm really enjoying hearing them. So keep them coming. A Boogeyman, I do not know the impedance of the hat. If we run into problems, I will I will tweak it. So great questions coming in, guys. The hat, yeah, it's well, we'll see if it works. All right. But I want to get to our guest tonight because we have a bit of a presentation to go through tonight. And he's certainly someone you guys probably know. He runs the site boyinaband.com. He is known to people as, I think, just Dave, but he would go by Dave Brown. His mom would call him Dave Brown when she's angry at him. David. Oh, David Brown, excuse me. A middle name too, or?
Maybe.
All right. Paul. Okay. Yes. Let's bring him on. Dave, say hello to the world.
Hi, world. Hi, I'm Dave from boyinaband.com.
Oh, that's what I should have done. I should have said, hi. Oh, wait, I can't do it. Hi. I can't.
Hi.
No. I can't.
Hi.
I can't get there.
Falsetto in there.
All right. How you doing?
Yeah.
You've had a busy week, huh?
Yeah, it's been crazy having to shove together this dance pop song for the Music Making Month, and I've been going through it. We've got up to day 6 and ready to show the day 7.
I think
you guys.
What's really cool about this to me is that when you and I started talking about doing this project, we were, the one of the first questions obviously is genre. What genre should we do? And one of the ones on your list was modern pop, and I just jumped on that instantly because I thought, the cool thing to me is that everybody likes to sort of slag off on pop music, right? Like, oh, this pop music is so easy and stuff. And my feeling about it is that some of the best musicians I've ever known play jazz, and some of the worst musicians I've ever known play jazz. And some of the most genius songwriters I've known do this sort of noise rock, and some of the worst songwriters I know do this noise. It's like genres attract the best and the worst, and I think pop is no different. I think that, you can be an incredibly talented pop writer, and you can be a bit of a ditty maker,
An art music factory.
Yeah, and I think this is a great evening where we can sort of celebrate that there is a lot that goes into writing pop, and there's no shame in writing really good, really catchy pop. So yeah. I think it's a great event. I imagine you would agree.
Yes, I am a huge Britney Spears fan, and I have been unashamedly for many years. Well, Max Martin, but...
Right, yeah, right. I remember, actually, I lived in England back in 90... When did I move there? 96. I arrived in August of 96, and every car that drove by was playing this song that I didn't know at the time. But it had this little thing at the end of the chorus where it went, zig a zig ah. And it was the Spice Girls, obviously.
Yeah.
It was really, really, really one a zig a zig ah. That was like, you heard that with like the Doppler effect of the car going by. And I just thought to myself, this song, my God, I must be on an alien planet over here in England. This song would never work in the States. The U.S. market would never fall for this. And then by the time I got home in December, it was everywhere. So
yeah.
I was wrong.
Nothing like a bit of Spice Girls.
Right. Yeah, and Barbie Girl, right? Rukafest. Rukafest in the chat has reminded us of Barbie Girl as well. But so
that tape.
What? Let's first take a sort of, before we actually look at the track. Let's talk about what you set out to do with this track. I mean, pop is a very broad genre, so to say you're going to do a pop track.
Yeah, you have to be a bit more specific, obviously. I was going for the more kind of conventional type of pop that's been going around the past few years, like kind of Kesha, Katy Perry, Lady Gaga style dance pop. That's what I've gone with, dance pop 7-day song, because it's quite a bit different to the 90s and early 2000s kind of original Britney Spears, Backstreet Boys kind of thing. It's got a lot more dancey electro influences in there, but it's still definitely got a pop vibe to it.
Is it something that you listen to?
All the time, yes.
To pop music?
Yeah, in between my sugar, yeah.
And, I mean, it's one thing to be a passive listener and consumer of pop music. To be a producer or an emulator or whatever it is, I don't know what you sort of fancy yourself in the 7-day song.
So that makes me feel better about myself.
A what? Producer?
Let's go producer. That makes me feel better about myself.
Right, okay. To be a producer of pop music, you have to be much more on top of the trends and the now in pop. I mean, it's almost like, if I may borrow an analogy, it's somewhat current to U.S. politics. I remember when I mean, this is going to be out of nowhere. I remember when the hunt for Osama bin Laden was going on, and the people were always saying, we don't want to know where he is now. I'm talking like Bush, because it was always him saying, we don't want to know where he is now. We want to know where he's going to be tomorrow. And it's like almost that with pop, right? It's like you don't want to know what's happening now. You want to know, when you start a track, what the trends are as they're developing.
I think, fortunately, it's because I live in England, where all the kind of, well, not all of it, but a lot of kind of cutting-edge dance music, like dubstep, for instance, has taken place. If you listen to a lot of Britney Spears songs, for instance, the newer ones have taken a lot of really heavy influence from stuff like dubstep and progressive house. So you can kind of guess, right, by just going for the most popular underground electronic music genre at the time and just wait for it to be ripped off.
Right. All right. Well, enough with the geopolitical metaphors for pop production. Let's take a look. Let's see what you got going on here.
All right. Do you want me to play through the song straight away, or?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. I mean, is it ready to just go and roll? And it's
go.
All right. Let's check it out.
Here we go.
Me. You gotta take me without my consent. You gotta take me without my consent. The people ask me why, but I say why not. Keep them coming, get high. I'll take all you've got. Don't even think, just kill. don't share. I'm just an illusion. I'm just an illusion. To me, it's like I wasn't even there. Yeah, you believe in me, and I don't even care. You want a piece of me, it's too bad I don't share. I'm just an illusion. I'm just an illusion. Lost sight of reality. You lost sight of reality. If you want me, then I'm free. If you want me, then I'm free. Because to me, it's like I wasn't even there. Yeah, you believe in me, and I don't even care. You want a piece of me, but too bad I don't share. I'm just an illusion. I'm just an illusion. To me, it's like I wasn't even there. Yeah, you believe in me, and I don't even care. You want a piece of me, but too bad I don't share. I'm just an illusion. I'm just an illusion. Take me. Take me. Take me.
All right. This is if I had a applause sound effect, I would cue it off now, but unfortunately, I can do it the old school way. But with the clapping in the chat room, so that's good. That's all right.
Yay.
We like that.
Thanks.
Okay. Well, first of all, is this your first? Would you call this your first modern pop track, or is this stuff you do?
Well, first modern pop. I've done boy band stuff as a joke. Like I started off writing a lot of joke music just because I love trying out different genres, and that's a good way to do it, to kind of make fun of the genres that exist. So,
Right.
yeah,
You
boy band pop.
just hold a mirror up to it, and the joke is self-evident. Is that the idea?
But that's British humor for you.
Right. Okay. So, well, let's dig in. I mean, first of all, for people who haven't seen the buildup of this track, the beauty is that we're starting at the end, right? So this is like Star Wars Episode 6, and you. Well, that's bad, because now I'm going to say that you can go see Star Wars Episode 1, which nobody wants to see. So, no, okay, it's nothing like Star Wars Episode 1. There's no Jar Jar. There's...
See, not Jar Jar.
No, definitely not. But if you go to boyinaband.com, you can see video tutorials that Dave has been doing all week long, where he shows you how to build this song up part by part. You know, day one's the drums, day two's the bass. I mean, it's very pedantic. Would it be correct to say? I think that's
Yeah, sure.
I think that's the A plus word.
I was going thorough, but
Thorough. Well, okay, thorough's better. So it's. Someone says Star Wars references work well with tinfoil hats. True story. Bet 5,000. But so do go over there, because it's actually really interesting. And I was watching the drum tutorial, and I thought, like, wow, it's a really simple beat that you're making, but it's completely authentic. It has that modern pop sound, and so it's a really neat way to go like, okay, cool, this validates how I would like to make this. This is how I've been doing it, and I'm doing it right. Or this is not how I've been doing it, and this is why it doesn't sound right.
Firstly, I'd never say it's right. Like, obviously, there's millions of different ways to do it. So if you're doing something completely different, you might be getting a better result than I am. But it all just depends on what you like, doesn't it? So
right. That's true. Well, so but let's dig in and take a look at sort of what we got going on. What makes this song kick?
Well, the kick helps. If we let's jump into the chorus, for instance. So yeah, we've got the beat here, and loaded up. Just got everything in Kong. Got a nice, big punchy electro kick. That's driving it along for the vast majority of it, the kick, and I've got quite a nice snare. Got like a DJ almost stopped feel on it, layered up with a clap, and that really. I think that really punches it nicely. In the chorus, I've got this little hat on top of it as well. Done a little bit of automation to bring that in. Because I notice, like, I do a lot of critical listening when I'm trying to recreate these genres, and I'll note things down. One of the things I noticed was that they tend to have a lot of hi-hats on the kicks in the bigger sections, so they won't have it so much in the verses and the pre-choruses, but in the bridges and choruses, maybe they'll have a hi-hat layered with the kick, and it's a subtle thing, but it really fills out the high end, which I wouldn't have actively noticed it before. But like that, along with, I'd say, the effects, the white noise effects in the top, are some of those things that you don't really actively notice when you're just passively listening to it. Obviously, active, passive. But if you're taking real notice of it and trying to listen to it without enjoying the song, then you start to notice these things and you can really start to adapt it. Critical listening is really important, I'd say, if you want to try and make a specific genre, then definitely get noting down different parts about the song.
This white noise thing came up not last night, the night before, with DJ Lucky Date. This idea that there is white noise in these synths and in these signals that it's all over the place, right? And I guess we don't notice it, but Jordan's point was almost like, yeah, you don't notice it, but you notice it when it's gone. You know,
exactly.
And so I think it's interesting you picked up on it too and put it in your track. So it's
only something I've really come across recently, like, but it is when I was doing my prog house tutorial, trying to get a kind of Calvin Harrisy lead synth, and it just didn't have any top, and like I could EQ it and it gave it a little bit, but chucking white noise on there, it just filled it out so well. And you don't think about noise being a practical melodic almost kind of thing, but it really does lift the melodies.
It's we have a question actually from Jay Foster. He wants to know, are you self-taught?
Well, yeah, I did do music tech course in college, but that was I was at the course more than my teacher, so sums it up. I did video games at university, which is has no relevance whatsoever to what I do for a living now, so that was a waste of time. But yeah, it was all just self-taught from being in bands and playing around with my friends. As I said, making joke music. Like I'm in a band, Yuma Army, and all the stuff I do is mainly with Reason these days, like because I do the electronics. And yeah, it's just making songs and playing about. The tutorials have helped. I'd advise, if you want to really up your production game, make tutorials, because you got to know what you're talking about eventually.
That's funny. That's actually exactly when I'm going to go back to Lucky Day because he's fresh in my mind. But when I interviewed him for an artist feature we're doing with him, he said the same thing to me, that doing the tutorials was almost like he did a few of them just to kind of like give back because he had learned from tutorials, and then he quickly realized that like he was getting way better trying to come up with a something to emulate, and B, trying to explain it, and you kind of putting yourself out there. Like, you better be right when you're putting this out there.
Exactly. Well, I've been wrong loads of times.
No, sorry. There's that right-wrong thing again. But I mean, you better sort of know what you're doing. You can't fumble your way through a tutorial, or it's obvious.
You have to put in the work. If you want to make a good tutorial, you have to put in the work to kind of research it, and then if you've got some notes to follow along while you're doing it, again, you have to write those notes down. So you have to kind of understand the fundamentals. It's really useful for sound design. I mean, like I can imagine a lot of Foley artists in movies and things, like for Transformers, they have to know what they were doing to get those kinds of sounds. Emulating a sound is very different from just playing about and seeing what you come up with,
right.
Which is, it's obviously a valid method of creation. I used to do that all the time, still do, and it is good fun. But if you want to make something specific, you do really need to know what you're doing.
Right. We've got a question that comes in that I'm sure we'll get to, but I think, hell, now's as good a time as any. Strokoff wants to know, how do you compose really memorable melodic hooks? And what an appropriate question for a modern pop tune than melodic hooks, right?
Yeah, I'd say this. I spent the majority of the time on this 7-day song getting frustrated with the fact, like you can see here, actually, here's all the stuff that I chucked out, amongst stuff I've deleted as well. I just move it to the side there. I had to get rid of so many riffs that I thought ended up being too attention grabbing. In pop, for instance, everything is on the vocal. The vast majority of tracks will have one synth in the background at any one time, really. You'll have the little things, but there's one focal thing, one focal synth. And to make that catchy is a massive challenge. One thing I've found, I did discuss it with the bass. I've made it so the bass hits, if we take a quick look, every time the kick hits. Oh, not in the chorus. Bad example. In the verse. There we go. So playing off the percussion is a really good way to make it catchy. And one thing I've noticed a lot, that I always tend to think it, if you can come up with a riff in your head first, kind of humming it, I tend to find they're catchier than the ones I come up with on the keyboard. I don't know if that's just me or if that's me being pedantic. But yeah, it tends to work for me. Playing off, jumping onto the on-beat and the off-beat is another one, but I'm just throwing things out there now. But
you know, the humming and the playing on the keyboard thing is something I find just as a musician that I do. If I think and write on the keyboard, my fingers have certain patterns they do. You know, I tend to do a lot more with octaves than I would if I were humming. So for me,
tend to do everything in C minor.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. Or pentatonic scales on the black keys only, or whatever. You know, and so I think that's great. That's a great suggestion because it really does sort of force you to get yourself out of those habits, you know.
Definitely.
James Bernard, our product specialist, seems to have logged in and sees me wearing a tinfoil hat, and he doesn't know what's going on. James, here's the deal. It's Friday the 13th, and it's Dave's 13th.
He's gone crazy. Help me.
Am I the only one that thinks this is a good idea? Look.
Yes.
I think it's all right. Hey, look, the connection's lasting so far. So. Oh man, I'm getting no love from the chat. I'm standing alone. All right, well maybe I'll lose the hat, but I'm sticking with it.
I'm gonna say I think I've got some tinfoil about.
All right.
Yeah, here we go.
Oh, nice. See, okay, good.
Signy, the sine wave. Say hi. I mean, yeah, serious reason learning stuff.
Yeah. Okay. But you know what I actually wanted to do? So you've got these. Can you go back to the chorus? I wanted to. Is it doable that we could actually just in a sort of voyeuristic sort of way take a look at the things that you rejected and even hear? You were saying they were too busy or fighting too much.
Yeah, I ended up making the lead synth exactly the same as the verse bass. Because I found it just made it drill into your head, and because it was swapping instruments, it wasn't boring. So have a look at some of these ones, and I'm trying to remember if they're absolutely terrible or not. It'd be like that. Then what's this one here? And I found that was pretty much a rip-off of Kesha.
Uh-huh. I just have to ask for a second, because I don't think other people notice it, because they're not seeing your Skype video. Were you beatboxing the drums over that for us? To give?
Yeah. I love beatboxing.
Okay, cool. I heard drums, and then I looked over. I was like, oh, wait, there's no drums up there.
So it just comes naturally. I do it without thinking. I had a very boring job as a waiter once, and very few friends, so I just sat in the corner beatboxing, and that gave me even fewer friends. So but I eventually learned from all the weird looks. When the looks started getting less weird, it must have been coming across as beatboxing, just going
rather than being, oh, that's the guy with Tourette's.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Okay. A question coming in from Enoch Light. He says, Dave, do you tend to use blocks while composing, or do you prefer the quote-unquote old way?
I don't actually use blocks that much, but that's because when I'm writing, as a general rule, I'll start with stuff in... I'll rewire into Sonar, just because I've got used to that. Before I had Record, I had Sonar, so just to, everything's already set up in there, all the templates. I've been looking at record more often since I've done the progressive house and this dance pop 7-day song, and the blocks really are useful. Once you do get the hang of it, like in this dance pop one, it was really easy to arrange the song. I can imagine how easy it would be to put together different types of mixes for like a club version of a track if you were doing conventional dance as well. So I don't personally use blocks that much, but I can see it being really useful depending on your kind of workflow.
Not to make a blatant company pitch here for it, but as I'm going to speak personally as a musician, I think one of the things that I have been surprised with that I didn't realize it would resonate with me with the blocks feature is something that could be seen evident here in your thing, and that is that you've got your chorus block, right? And you design it, you do it, you drop it in, you put it in 3 times in the song, and then you decide, you know what, that synth is fighting a little too much, I need to simplify it. You go into one location, you make that one change, and it propagates through.
That is the best part about it. I've always dreamed about something like this, and I've never seen it implemented quite as well as this. I mean, Ableton, I think, was quite close, but this is better than that, I'd say. Personally, I think.
And you know, and the thing for me is, it's not so much about the time saving of it to me, but it's about I'm lazy, and I know that even if I go, you know, it really would be better if that bass drum hit 2 times instead of once, but I gotta go and, you know, duplicate and fix, you know. So knowing that I don't have to do that actually is the bigger thing for me. It's like
it's the distance between it being in your head and being on the screen, and if it can shorten that distance, then brilliant.
Yeah, right.
That's concerned about.
Cool. Okay, well let's check out some other stuff. What else does this song have? I imagine a lot.
I was quite proud of the lead synth that I discussed. I really thought that captured the kind of summery catchy vibe. There it is. Yeah. Yeah, I used a bit of Oscillator sync for this one, only a tiny bit, but this is a technique I really thought was quite good. Years and years ago, one of my first tutorials was remaking Lady Gaga's Poker Face, and I made a synth from that. That was when I first learned about Oscillator sync. I was just trying out everything I could to try and get a kind of grittiness because I thought Scream 4 was a bit too distorted for the tone. But yeah, eventually I noticed the little button at the side there, and it gave that gritty tone. Oscillator sync. It's yeah, I'll try and explain.
Yeah,
it.
Can you describe to someone who might not know what that little button does?
Well, here we've got the master oscillator, and here we've got the slave oscillator. Yeah, they've not had an Emancipation Proclamation yet, but they've got the deeper octave on the master is stopping the slave. The period of the waveform dead. So if the ramp had got halfway through this for instance, if it was on saw wave, if the ramp had been cut off halfway through, it would give a completely different tone. So it's basically shortening the waveforms every now and again, depending on the length of the waveforms in the master oscillator. That's a way to explain it. But when you do understand that, the deeper the octave in the master oscillator, you get this hollower tone to the original synth. I'll kind of show you that. If we take this up, and I'll just solo out this one. Is that yeah, that's the right one. And as you take it down,
wow,
it is a vastly different thing depending on the octave. But I think it works so well with the pulse wave. I think it just gives that really deep tone to it, and it's like, because the pulse wave is quite hollow sounding as it is. That's the way I describe it. But yeah, it makes it even hollower and a bit gritty without being distorted. So Oscillator syncs a great tone for that kind of electro sound.
Wow. Do you tend to you are kind of a Thor guy, right? I mean, I think I know that from some of your other tutorials. You know, it's like I've noticed that. When I speak to artists, that people tend to gravitate towards a synth, and it's like that's how their brain works. So Kill the Noise, when I spoke to him, he was like, I think of a sound I want to make, I already know how to set up Maelstrom to do it. You know, yeah. and so I guess you'd be the same way, but Thor based.
I'd say the one thing I've been starting to gravitate a little bit towards Maelstrom because of the wavetables. Like, since getting addicted to Skrillex like a billion other people, I'm sure, some of his synths are very wavetable-y in their construction, and like there's obviously the wavetable oscillator, but I found it's not quite as good as the one in Maelstrom. So I'm starting to have to be torn away from my love.
Gotcha. Yeah, the dubstep guys, I know Jack Wob as well was big into the Maelstrom, and I guess for that reason too.
Yeah.
So cool. Okay, so that's the lead synth that goes through the verse and chorus as well, or?
That's just the chorus, that one. It's got a nice bit of portamento. I love portamento for making happier sounding synths. Like, you could hear it all over the place in Owl City and electropop like that. Just really emphasize it. Can just hear it. It just gives it that. It's happy to slide up. It's not regimented. It doesn't need to change on the beat. It's like, yeah, sure, I'll go there. Why not? E sharp, octave higher. Yeah, I can do that. It's a friendly little synth. But yeah, if you want Dirty Dutch, just take it ridiculously high. Instant. That's pretty much a club banger right there. I don't even know if you need the drums.
Done.
Yep.
Send it out to mastering. Get that thing in Fabric this weekend. Okay, cool. So then, well, what? Let's keep our walkthrough going. What else we got? Let's
have a look at some of the other effects. I like the gated pad. That was, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Just changing the snap value there. Blocks. There we go. It's in the intro.
Pef in the forums has invented a new term, Dave Step.
Dave Step. How does that go? Hi. So yeah, the gated pad.
Yeah, yes. In other news.
Yeah, I love my super saws. It's the best thing about trance music ever. That's just literally 3 octaves spread. A little bit of changes on the mixer. I tend to focus towards the lower end. The high end synth, I think, usually if you bring these all to an even level, it tends to take too much kind of focus. So if you bring it down a little bit, where are we? I'm balancing the wrong way. That's it. There's the high synth. If you balance it towards the lower ones, it gives a slightly grittier tone to the super saw.
So wait, but we've got, just so I understand this, we have 3 multi-oscillators that are playing 3 different octaves, but the same note essentially?
Yeah, same note, 3 different octaves. And that's just, I call it a super saw, I think a lot of people do. And yeah, it's that generic trance sound, and you can chuck a crap load of delay on it if you want to get the hands in the air thing going on. In fact, if you take it polyphonic and take it up a bit. Yeah. Sorted. Instant talent button. I love delay. But yeah, back to where we were. I had it on mono legato, so because I played in the notes pretty sloppily and I was too lazy to change them. It's a quick way. Yeah. Down an octave. And then I've gated that with matrix pattern sequencer. If you hit tab, look at the back, take curve CV into amp level. That's one of the few things I tend to do. Like, I guess it's just the way I've got used to doing things, but Thor's so good having everything in there already. I find I don't have to do that much routing really, like with CVs or anything like that. It's got 2 LFOs. I've never really needed to use more LFOs than that. So the only thing I use it for is gating or arpeggios with the arpeggiator, just the routing. But yeah, that gating synth, if you can see it's cutting it off quite nicely. Highest resolution.
Now, can I ask you, why is that being done with gating instead of just triggering the notes?
It's like getting that way I don't have to think about the rhythm and I can just concentrate on the chord progression. It's just a personal choice. I just like the gating, the feel of it, I guess.
I see.
You can easily just do it if you're good enough at playing notes really fast, but for someone like me who isn't brilliant at keyboard, it allows me to concentrate on playing the chord progressions right, rather than the playing the individual rhythms the same consistently.
Gotcha. Cool.
Yeah. Then we've got the equalizer. One thing I found from when I started, if you listen to a few of the earlier 7-Day songs, I just started to play around with the equalizer to kind of make my videos seem like they were actually talking about something. In some cases, like I'd have a synth that took me a minute to make, and then think, "Hang on, this is going to look rubbish," so I'd need to do something to it. And then I found out that EQing actually really changes the sound vastly, and it's vitally important to getting a professional sound. So it's one of those things I learned from the tutorial. And yeah, everything you've got to play a bit around with the EQ. It changes the sound, it makes it a bit more unique, and you can get such a different tone out of it. I mean, just from this one sound, if you have a bit of a play with cutting. Got a bass there. And if you modulate that, you get an instant kind of psytrancey almost synth. There's so much you can do just with changing the frequencies that are already in there, so long as you've got a bunch. And with multi-oscillators, those sawtooths, the super saws, there's so much frequency content there, you can do tons with it.
Interesting. Yeah, that's true. I mean, that's the 3-octave thing is actually something I didn't know. I mean, I've sort of, in playing around with synths, I've kind of caught on to doing 2 octaves, and I go like, oh wow, that makes it sound a little more trancy. But I didn't know the 3-octave, and I don't do it in Thor. I'm a subtractor guy, so well,
that'd be what, like, if Thor had 4 octaves, I'd do a 4-octave spread.
Oh, for real?
It's just like, yeah, I've done the 6-octave with a couple of Thors before. That can be really good, but obviously if you've got the space for it in your mix, if it's just that lead, it can be huge. But you got to be careful mixing the high end. As I said, like, personally, I think the high end can be a bit too piercing if you're not careful. So you got to bring that down a little bit. But the deep saw waves are just gorgeous. Oh, it's so powerful.
Wow. Push button in the chat says, "You work a lot like me, Dave. Paint a lot, then mop it up."
That sounds about right. It's not really paint, it's kind of vomit.
Oh, okay.
It goes on there, and then, yeah, ew, and get rid of that. Oh, that sounds good. Well, yeah.
Right. So, what do you want to take a look at next? Obviously, I think pop music, it relies a lot on the vocals, so...
take a look at the vocals if you want. Sure, they're all in song mode. And so the chorus would be a good place to start. Yeah. I got my convenient pop singer girlfriend, Rachie, to do the vocals for me, so thanks to her for that. Yeah, and obviously it's pop music, so you have to use a hefty amount of auto-tuning. I've done more of that in the verses, actually, if we take a quick look. One thing I really like about Neptune, like I'd previously been using some, I can't remember the name of the VST, but in Sonar I'd used a VST for that. But I've recently been really getting into Neptune because I play in the notes so easily. Just, if you go to Neptune, right-click, and... yeah, there it will say create track for Neptune. You can just literally play in the notes you want to be sung.
People ask me why, but I say why not.
Probably not those notes.
Wait, so
it's really,
was that you
really
just
useful.
randomly pounding on the keyboard?
Yeah, it's so useful for making a different melody. See if we can get something reasonable.
Ask me why.
No. Trying to remember the key I did it in. D.
Ask me why, but I say why not.
See, there's completely changing from.
The people ask me why, but I say why not.
It's so cool the way you can change a melody after it's been sung. I'm changing my mind all the time, and instead of having to get the vocalist back in.
And it almost has, it sort of enhances that sort of pop sterility to it a little bit.
Yeah. 99 pop is heavily auto-tuned these days, especially dance pop. If you want to go for the T-Pain effect, it's perfect.
I mean, it almost begs the question, if it sounds as cool as that, and I almost even liked the melody you played on the keyboard, arguably better than the one that was recorded. But it begs the question then, should you record the wrong melody so the notes are further away so that you can...
That's fun to experiment with, especially if you record the wrong melody in a wrong octave, because then you get the weird kind of... Because if we solo it out again, take my keyboard up an octave, and play that.
People ask me why, I say why not.
Like, obviously, we wouldn't be probably very good for a vocal, but you can use that as a synth or something. You can get some really weird, cool effects.
Interesting.
Again, going back to Skrillex again, he does it all the time with his cut up and pitched. He almost plays the vocal, and that's being done more and more. I mean, Daft Punk used to do that all the time. But yeah, it's a really fun thing to experiment with.
I was listening. I was out and about in the world today, and I was listening to a pop track, and I just sort of, in thinking about our event tonight, I started listening to it a little more critically than I normally would have, and I was just thought to myself, if you took the vocal away from this song, it is a very boring song.
Yeah, as I said, the vast majority of writing this was getting frustrated because all of the interesting riffs I came up with were too much for the track. It's all about the vocals entirely, which it makes you wonder. Like when you hear that if you look at a lot of Lady Gaga or Katy Perry tracks, they tend to say that they were co-produced by Lady Gaga or Katy Perry, and you always wonder, like, what element did they put into that track? And people say, oh, they didn't produce it. They wouldn't know a thing about producing. But if they've been doing the vocal melodies, that's such a huge part of the pop song in itself, and that is the catchy part usually.
Right.
So that is a huge part of it. So maybe they do deserve more credit than they're given if they are writing the melodies.
Interesting.
It's such a big part of pop.
A question. This seems like sort of an age-old purist debate, but it's definitely worth talking about in pop music. Strokoff asks, Dave, don't you think it's actually better to work with a vocalist who can sing the right notes, him or herself, and then modify that record for creating different weird vocoded parts? So I don't fully understand the second half of the question, but it does sound to me like, shouldn't you get it right the first time?
If you can, great. Rachie was pretty good on this. The chorus was spot on as far as I can tell. Like I added a harmony later on, which is again like another useful thing because I didn't think to add this harmony line. Then I just had it in my head while I was producing it, so I could instantly chuck it in there from a double track I didn't use. I just chucked that on top, put in them.
To me, it's like I wasn't even there. You believe in me, and I don't even care.
That's from the same. Like if I get rid of the Neptune, it's exactly the same as the lead vocal.
Want a piece of me, but too bad I don't try.
Like I obviously heavily auto-tuned that, but she'd sung exactly the same thing, and I thought, yeah, here's an idea. Was able to chuck it in with no problems. So obviously, if you can get there's no substitute for a singer who can sing, especially live, and that's when it's really important. But for the production side of it, I'd say it's more for kind of spontaneity and convenience. You could never do that before these kinds of auto-tune units. Especially as I say, I think Neptune is such a good one. It's so quick to use. You'd have to faff about setting it up. It's just right-click, create track. There you are. So I think it can, and you have to play around a lot more. If you've worked with bad vocalists in the past, which I have, you have to be a lot more creative with how you make them sound good, and that itself can. Like I've become really good at stuttering because, if I do say so myself, just because I do it so much to counteract bad vocals. If I found that one take wasn't very good, I might stutter the crap out of it, and it sounds much cooler than it did initially. What do you mean by stuttering?
We're talking about like...
Yeah, just cutting it up, though. If I do an example here, if we go into the lead and change the snap value to like 30 seconds. Don't know how this is going to sound. This is usually the kind of thing you really have to kind of play with. You can't predict exactly what it's going to sound like. Blah, 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 blah. That kind of stuttering.
Okay.
That's what, like, and obviously cutting it up and doing different rhythms. Like, I like doing that kind of sound. I'm trying to think how that's done. I think it's 3. See if we get rid of that. That's too slow. If we take it up to 140, chance. Yeah. And you can get that kind of effect and stuff like that. I wouldn't have really come across if I hadn't worked with a bad vocalist. So it's ironic how using a conventionally bad thing can lead to something different and new.
Necessity is the mother of all invention, right?
Definitely.
Cool. Okay. See. We got a question coming in from Big Benja, and he wants to know, I guess this is Big Benja is an aspiring pop producer, hopefully. He says, when did you get good? How long have you done this? Most of my stuff isn't very good. He says, no, come on, Big Benja, don't be so hard on yourself. It doesn't stand out when I try and add layers of more sounds, pendulum style. I'm always afraid to.
I love Pendulum, and I cry every time I hear them because they're so much better than I am. I don't know how, if you can find me a producer that's happy with their productions, then I will be very, very surprised. I don't think I've met one. I just don't think they exist, at least producers who are good. They always tend to be very frustrated that they can't get that sound. So I personally don't think my tracks are at the level of Pendulum, at the level of Cell Dweller, another one that I think producers ever. Max Martin writing these dance pop tracks. But the way I figured it the past few years, because I did get really kind of down about being frustrated that I could never get that sound to come across, moving on and trying new songs. Never get hung up over one song. That's the biggest advice I could say. Wow. I've said in a few of the 7 Day songs. It's like, if you get too hung up over it, you're not going to produce anything. And the way through producing tracks, it's not, unfortunately, it's not finding the magical button or the magical device. It's using the devices that you've got, because obviously tracks that sound professional with the stuff that sounds that is inside Reason, and you've just got to learn how to use it. A lot of it is EQ and compression, I've found, and again those kinds of things, EQ sounds. Once you get your head around those things, you're away. But it takes years to get your head around those things. There's so much variety, you can't possibly expect yourself to pick it up in a matter of weeks or months. It's years.
I think particularly about your 7 Day songs and that sort of the creativity of them. There's a quote by James Cameron, which was, "Movies don't get movies don't get released." And I think there's a kind of neat thing that you must experience with these 7 Day songs, where it's like, you've got a deadline. You're doing a song in 7 days, and I guess the pessimistic view might be that there's certain corners you have to cut, but at the same time there's a certain creativity that is induced upon you by the sense of urgency.
Precisely. I mean, there's only so many synths you can introduce into a 7 Day song. I mean, I was looking at Lucky Date's interview he did with you guys, and I was seeing that in his Reason rack he's got 1 billion different things going on in there. I could not fit that into a 7 Day song tutorial and maintain interest in it. I could not think of that many inappropriate jokes. But it's just not going to work. You've got to thin things out when you're doing tracks like this. But again, I was terrible back in the day at making a few synth sounds sound really big. That's one of the biggest problems I faced whenever I tried to do a house track or something a bit more minimalistic than my conventional. I like to write electronic metal as a conventional electronic rap metal. There's loads going on. There's synths, there's guitars, there's layers and layers of vocals, and it's quite easy to make a thick sound. But when you go to writing something like Electro House, I think that was the first one I really struggled with. The Electro House 7 Day song was my third one, and there were sections where it's like a synth and a drum kit, and you've got to make it sound big with just those two elements, and the synths I'd made previously never had that kind of power. So that's something. Try restricting the amount of synths you use, and you'll find that eventually, after you've torn out all your, well, I didn't tear out my hair, but if you do that, you'll eventually start to get the hang of making small, weedy little synths sound much bigger. That's one of those kinds of vital things you need to learn to do. It's EQ, it's compression, and it's stereo widening as well. And obviously the source sound is vital, but those three things, I'd say.
Gotcha.
Yeah, a lot of people say it's like a cube, where you got the frequency, you got the this, let's say, frequency, stereo, and the kind of volume, so compression. So you've got to think about filling that cube with the sound.
Interesting. So I guess the guys in the chat, it sounds like Ustream's probably got a little funkiness going on with the audio. So hopefully that sorts itself out. Just let me know, guys. Can you hear us? It's just that we sound distorted, or is it that you can't even hear us and we're just having a conversation without you now?
I'm going to do some drum and bass beatboxing until they can hear
you
me.
go for it.
Dubstep. You can hear us yet?
Well, they're lulling. They say it's a little bit overdriven. Let me just check. Yeah, let's do it.
Awesome, overdriven drum and bass. Is that sounding awesome?
I think it's awesome. Oh wow, it really does sound weird. Okay, hang on a second. Is it worth? Is it worth me stopping the broadcast, guys? You tell me, and then we can come back online. I'll let them tell me when the no says reason record. No, so okay. Then we're all just gonna kind of go through it. Someone says okay now. We'll see how it goes. Okay,
Sweet.
moving on. So
Yes.
we had another question that. Oh yeah, that's right. Strokeoff or Strockoff or however you say his name. He asks. Oh boy, my hat's all wonked. He asks.
Wonk.
Are you ever planning on doing a tutorial where you feature live instruments like guitars or anything like that?
You should say that. I've been thinking about doing one because, as I said, I write electro metal, and I was thinking about doing one of a Yawa song, Yumot Army, my band, Yumot Army. Just going through one of the songs I've already written for that and explaining how I did all the synths and the guitar elements. Is writing those two genres together obviously has some kind of limitations. When you've got guitars, distorted, overdriven guitars that fill up all the frequency spectrum and just hog everything and make you want to cry. When you're trying to fit synths on top of that and in between that, it's a big challenge. So there's a lot to discuss there. So if anyone wanted to, because there's quite a few people doing that now and incorporating both kind of rocky, metally influences with conventional dance and like drum and bass, dubstep stuff as well. So yeah, I'm thinking about doing that, and that'll probably be in a couple of months' time, probably 2-3 months. I think I've got it.
Very cool.
Scheduled.
Excellent. Okay. So we are getting close to wrapping up our time together here. So I want to make sure that we haven't overlooked anything. Is there anything? What else in this track is standout worthy that we should be looking at?
Well, one thing I could talk about is something that always gets overlooked. We were talking about the white noise earlier. It's not just white noise. Effects everywhere in pop music, all the time. There's crashes, there's reverses, there's these little random blips. If I sell out just the effects, just all these random noises going on behind the track. It's a crash. If you have a listen to that section without the effects, just hear how much thinner it sounds. If you pad something out with loads of crashes and sweeps and reverses, it's the kind of thing that people won't actively notice, but if you take it out, as Lucky Date said, you can really tell.
Interesting.
So that's a vital thing, and one of those things that I've really started to notice. And it takes a lot of time.
How do you say that you do this active listening and this critical listening stuff? How do you hear something that you don't notice until you take it away, because no one's actually taking it away in the production? Does that make sense?
I tend to listen to the frequency, like a mental multi-band compressor. Like I'll solo out the highs, I'll solo out the mids, and solo out the lows. Kind of focus in on it and see what comes out.
I just have Bad Santa. I gotta see a comment in the chat room. You're wearing your 303 shirt today. Hey, look at that shirt, buddies. All right. Sorry, we're both wearing the same shirt. I had to
I'm wearing my Dogtimus Prime t-shirt.
What is it? Dogtimus Prime. Oh, nice.
I have no idea. Apparently it's from Italy. Ask Rachie the thing that she seemed to think it was a good idea.
That is definitely if anyone else in the audience is wearing that shirt, you guys are way cooler shirt buddies.
You get a free copy of Reason if you get that.
Are you giving away your copy or what?
No.
All right. No. Okay. Yeah. Sure. We can throw that out. If anyone in the audience is wearing that shirt, and you take a picture of the live Ustream event with you wearing that shirt and Dave wearing that shirt, you got a free copy of Reason coming to you. You got it. I'll pay for it myself. All right. So, are we there, Dave, or I don't want
to. There's one more thing, maybe. I really like the bridge in this song. Kind of massive throwback to kind of trancey stuff. I was saying earlier about how much I loved super saws for deep bass sounds. If we take a look at the pad, just quickly, you can see you've got more oscillator. This time it's active because it's the bass sound specifically, but I've used both a saw and a square, thickened them up, and took them together, and that really, really fills it out. The bassy frequency. The lower octaves. That's what I was talking about. The source sounds are really important. If you just took one of them away, like compared to, it's much thicker. So thickening up sounds by layering them, which is a really vital technique. And I just love how that sounds. It's so warm and full. Just I've boosted the highs there as well, because filtering it all out, it doesn't. The filters aren't precise. It doesn't. That's another thing I've learned. Like that's everything above 946 hertz isn't completely cut out. It's kind of sloped off. To be able to get a little bit of the stuff right at the top here. Similarly, I've also got a white noise thing, which is the main reason I put it in. But if we mute the noise, we might be able to hear it, like compared to. Yeah, you can hear that. Just how much it lifts. That's another. So yeah, layering a couple of slightly detuned unison sounds, filtering them down, and bringing up the highs to make it a little bit airier. Some really nice kind of pad sound. I used exactly the same synth for the ARP as well. So, which I thought was gorgeous. Oh. Really like that.
A couple of questions here. M. Kesadarin. Hope I'm going to go with M. Kesadarin. He says, "Do you use preset synths and drums?"
I don't think I've used a preset in years. I think it's because I really enjoy making the sounds myself, because you learn so much that way. But that's just me. I mean, there's nothing wrong with using a preset. Especially a good way I started learning was to get presets and kind of deconstruct them, see how they were built. The really nice presets, I'd like take one bit away at a time until I found source sound that sounded crap, and think, right, so from there to there is good. And that's how I started to find out some of the more some of those techniques that you use to make things sound bigger and more powerful.
Gotcha.
So I think presets definitely have their place.
Gotcha. There was another comment a while back when I was joking about the dog transformer or Dogtimus Prime contest. They said, wouldn't now be a good time to mention your contest? And I think that's true. You have a contest running right now.
Yes, I do have a contest. I've got the Nebula Remix Composition Competition. If you guys want to win a copy of Reason and record, along with a load of other stuff, samples, some promotion on Boyna Band's YouTube channel, which has nearing 15,000 subscribers now. So, yeah, you can get all that stuff. Just if you go to my website and the competitions page under community, you can just look at the video. You've got to make a remix of my band Umot Army's track Nebula. There's a bunch of vocal stems and the guitar and bass stems I've chucked up as well. Grab those, have some fun with it, make a tutorial, which is a part of the competition, since I really want to encourage people to make tutorials. It's such a good way to learn and helps everyone. And yeah, do your best, see what you come up with, and you can win an absolute crapload of stuff.
An absolute crapload. I think it's true. I saw the video. I would say this is a scientifically quantifiable crapload.
Absolute crapload, yes. It's like absolute zero minus 273 Kelvin of crap.
Well, that would be when all crap ceases to...
Let's not think about that.
Good call. Audio and Golf wants to know, he says, question, what is the best way to go about reverse engineering reason patches so that I may learn the most in the shortest amount of time? Audio and Golf, very pressed for time, wants to be efficient.
Oh, but hurry up. Oh my god, Golf, yeah. If you bypass everything that isn't the source sound, that's the best way to start. So go through, bypass it all, have a listen to the source sound, do your best to deconstruct just that. Once you've understood that, maybe make some notes. Like that's something that I found really helps, especially when doing the 7-day songs. Actually, physically writing or typing, I prefer typing because I had to take remedial handwriting. I was terrible at that. Press for time. We've got to make this stuff. Yeah, then just go through each section, each device, turning it on, trying to understand what it's doing. If you can't hear a difference, is it really necessary? Like, take it out of the chain and see if the sound is considerably different. If not, then obviously it's not necessary. But if you take it out and it does make a difference, but when you listen to it, like to that point, it doesn't, obviously that is affecting something further on in the chain. So like that's another thing to look at. And you tend to find that a lot of these presets, they aren't really... I don't have that much by way of CVs as a general rule. You will get some that are ridiculously complicated, but a lot of the best sounds are quite simple to make. It's just a case of, as I said, that those three things of stereo space, EQing, and compression, just to get the volume right. Sorry, I'm never looking at the webcam. I need to get better at that. But yeah, just one thing at a time. Be really systematic. That's the way I've done it.
And I'm just going to run through a couple other questions here before we wrap up, so that people get their questions out. Farmer TML says
he lives near me. I've seen him comment on my videos.
Really?
Yeah.
It says Dave obviously has a lot of tutorials for different genres. What inspires him to choose another genre or song to make?
I'd like to say money, but no. I love making loads of different genres of music, and it's a lot. It's either what I've been listening to at the time or what people have been asking me to do a lot, which tends to result in what I've been listening to. Because if a load of people are saying, yeah, make some globstep, I'll be like, what the hell is globstep? And I'll go on YouTube globstep, and then I'll be obsessed with globstep, and all my friends will be sick of me talking about globstep, and then I'll just want to make a globstep 7-day song.
What Reason User wants to know,
what's globstep?
No, what kind of tutorials can we expect to see next?
I've got another drum and bass one that's a collaboration tutorial that I've been working on with a boy in a band forum goer. That's something I've been looking into doing. I love the idea of working with other people. Recently, my band did a collaboration with another band, Silent Descent. I did a 7-day spotlight on them. Really nice guys, really good producer in there, the guitarist, Tom Callahan. And it was so much fun working with another person, and you learn absolutely tons. But that's one of the best ways I've found learning. I can't believe I haven't done it sooner. So I figure a collaboration tutorial for in the near future is going to be the best way that I can give you new information, because obviously a lot of what I'm teaching you is the same kind of thing that I've done in previous songs, whereas if I'm collaborating, it's going to be completely different techniques that I haven't thought of. So yeah, drum and bass one should be coming. I think it's going to be more kind of upbeat drum and bass. That's going to be a fun one. And yeah, I really don't think that far ahead. I've got the vague idea of doing the electro rock one that I mentioned earlier, but a lot of it's up to you. If you comment on my videos and come on the forum and suggest things in the suggestion box, that's where I get a lot of my ideas. I used to do things with polls, and I'll probably start doing that again. But yeah.
True democracy. A suggestion comes in from S. Foreman for complextro, which is a genre we looked at with Lucky Date.
It's complex. Oh, this is like the globstep thing, isn't it? I'm going to Google the cover.
Yeah.
It's like put up style.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, if I remember correctly, complextro was...
That's going to be a nightmare. The first 7-day song I did was 1 video per day. Now I end up doing 3 parts for each day because there's so much going in. Complextro with all these different things. Join me in part 73 of day 2 when I'll be talking about how to put this tiny little piano thing.
Right. There's a great question coming in from Dishong. I guess it would be pronounced Dishong. He says, question, how do you find inspiration in your tracks? I have hit a creative block, and I've been listening to a lot of tracks and can't find inspiration. And I think that's probably something we've all struggled with and currently struggle with, some of us, and myself partially included in that, writer's block. How do you get over that?
Well, after hearing Dishong, I feel like I should like smack a frying pan against someone's head and mic it up and put that in there. So it's like just anything you hear, just try something completely random. That really helps me. I mean, I don't know, like, sure, that could be a genre. Just try out new things. That's the best way to do it. Try something you never expect you'd do, and you'll learn absolutely tons from it. I mean, I never expected I'd be doing a dance pop 7-day song, because it's a weird thing. I write, I was writing electro metal all my life before doing these tutorials. You jump into doing something like this, you will find something new, and you will unlock like that creator's block, and you will get past it because you're trying something different. It's finding that passion, that excitement about writing. That's all it is. Just try random things and see what happens.
Awesome. Well, awesome. I think that's a good place to leave it for us tonight. And I hope that everybody, some of our sessions have gone about this long. Some of them gone longer. So if you're expecting a 2-hour thing, you've got an extra hour. There's free time now. So like, start making music. You blocked off an hour. Let's all make music for an hour now, and let's take this inspiration and really go for it. I want to thank you, Dave. I think you did an awesome job, so thanks for joining us. And can we, if we head over to Boy in a Band, will we see a 7th wrap-up for this song as well?
I've got them all recorded, ready to upload, and I'll be doing that as soon as this is finished.
Oh, that's awesome.
I have terrible, slow internet connection, so apologies if it takes a few hours.
No worries. Hey, look, your terrible, slow internet connection has held down the fort for this,
Look, how about that? Rebecca Black, eat your heart out.
Yeah, right. So thank you, Dave, and everybody head over to boyinaband.com, not just to hear the full bandwidth conclusion of this track, but also just to join the community that's over there and dig into a lot of the knowledge that's over there. I mean, he's got a ton of stuff, and there's a ton that you can learn from, even if it's not a genre that you're particularly, it's not like your thing.
Especially if it's not a genre that you're particularly
used to. You heard the man, especially if it's not a genre that you're into. So by all means, head over there, check out his tutorials, and we expect great things from Dave in the future. So thank you, Dave. And that does it for us. That's it. It's Friday night. So if it's not yet the evening, go out and have some fun, and I'm going to do that too. And I just wanted to let you guys also know, as always, I want you to be sending your songs to me, because it's that's how we open every broadcast. So I always need new songs. I'm getting a lot of them, but I always want new ones. I'm kind of hungry for new songs. So tweet your songs to MMM Songs. That's MMM Prop Songs, or post them on our Facebook page, and we'll get them. And I will see you here tomorrow night. The weekend's not stopping us. Saturday night, I'll be here with Jessica Gore. She goes by the name NNXT, which, no surprise, she is a Reason user. So, I'll see you here tomorrow night. Make some music tonight. Thanks to Dave, and send me your songs, okay? This could be you.